Let's take a second and dive into the offensive line big board here, okay? And what we've done here, you can find this over at Patreon, patreon.com/PackerFan. Total Access is where you can find all these articles and information that we post. It's also where you can find a copy of our draft board as well. It's just another perk of being a member of the Patreon group. So a deeper look at the offensive line class. Let's start off with the offensive tackles. Now, keep in mind, guys, they're listed as offensive tackles on our board. This is subject to change. There's like people like Jennings Dunker, right? Many people, we've got the V tagged on him, meaning he's kind of versatile. He may kick inside. Many people are leaning towards him playing guard. 2 of the 3 websites still have him as a tackle that we kind of lean on. So we're holding off on moving him to guard because it will change the RAS score. Like Jennings Dunker has got a 3-point bonus, which means he scored an 8+ RAS. If you moved him to guard, he actually jumps into the 9s. Okay. So that's why it's important that we get these guys in the right spots. Now, starting at the top of the list here in terms of offensive tackles, Spencer Fano, 4.9 is the score. 15.8 is the score for Caden Proctor. They're your 2 top tackles. But what we're going to do, Tim, is focus on RAS score right out of the gate. Which guys scored a 9+ RAS, which gave them a 5-point bonus on our draft board, okay? Spencer Fano crushed the combine. He got a 5-point bonus. Caden Proctor out of Alabama got a 5-point bonus. Monroe Freeling got a 5-point bonus. Caleb Lomu out of Utah. Blake Miller out of Clemson. Maxie Hanachor out of Arizona State. Austin Barber out of Florida. Jude Bowery out of Boston College. You have Travis Burke out of Memphis, kind of a smaller school guy, right? He got the 5-point bonus. Diego Pounds out of Ole Miss, and then Enrique Cruz out of Kansas. Now, some people were saying Enrique Cruz might be a center. I don't remember a year where this many projected tackles and even guards, people were just saying, yeah, man, you can probably kick him in a center too. It just seems like that's becoming more of the norm of trying to get guys, maybe draft stock to rise a little bit because they could potentially play center for you. But like Spencer Fano, watching a video the other day of him after the combine drills wrapped up, he went out there and snapped some balls to show guys that he could snap as a center. So it's like, now Fano's value is so great here, Tim, at a 4.9 score, saying he's a top 5 prospect essentially on our board. Obviously, you're going to want him to play tackle, most likely a more valuable position than center. But that's the 5-point RASs. Behind them, you have the 3-point RASs. That's where Jennings Dunker comes in with an 8+ RAS. Drew Shelton out of Penn State and Emil Wagner out of Notre Dame all scored in the 8s with the latest information. And then J.C. Davis out of Illinois scored a 1-point bonus, which means he's between 7 and 7.99 in terms of RAS score. And then, of course, you've got the guys that kind of tanked here at the combine. Cage Casey got 0 points. Carver Willis got 0 points. And Alan Heron out of Maryland, which the Packers met with, got 0 points as well. And that means they scored less than a 7. Okay, so you guys do your own research to see exactly how low that RAS score is. So, Tim, that's how the offensive tackle RASs fell into place. Anything you want to add to that? Anything stick out to you before we move on to interior offensive line?
No, I think it's a great point that you made about tackles, being kicked into center. Normally you would think, interior guys, a left or right guard could kick to center. Normally guys on the outside stay on the outside, or maybe you'd kick a tackle to guard, but you wouldn't move a tackle all the way to center. Well, last couple of years, man, it seems like that's kind of the new trend, especially, pre-draft combine time of year. Guys are trying to increase their stock. We're looking at these RASs. Guys are proving it, right? Oh, I can play right tackle and I can play center and I could play right guard. It's kind of the new era of football, right? You're not just stuck at one position on that O-line now.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So as we move on to interior offensive linemen, sorted by RAS score, you've got Emmanuel Pregnan, left guard out of Oregon. He gets the 5-point bonus. Jake Slaughter from Florida dominated. He gets the 5-point bonus.
Here's a guy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Chase Basantis, guard out of Texas A&M, 5-point bonus. Brian Parker, who's projecting to be a center out of Duke, he gets the 5-point bonus. Keelan Rutledge out of Georgia Tech. Jalen Farmer out of Kentucky. Then you got your next center on the list here, Logan Jones out of Iowa. He gets a 5-point bonus. Micah Morris, guard out of Georgia, gets the bonus. Jager Burton, interior offensive lineman, dash center. So keep in mind, could have some center play there out of Kentucky. He dominated, 5-point bonus. Dylan Wade, guard out of Auburn. And then you got Logan Taylor, guard out of Boston College with a 5-point bonus. Those are the guys who scored 9+ RASs, okay, at the interior offensive line position. It's worth noting you've got 4 centers in there. 4, okay? Now, Connor Liu obviously was limited on the drills he could do because of the ACL. He did bench press, and I want to say he threw up like 32 reps. You guys double-check me on that in the comments. But he looked really, really good in terms of the bench press, what he could do. Again, he's not going to be ready there at the beginning of the season. I don't think he will be. So, now, again, 4 centers that had basically perfect RASs, right? 9+. And those names are Jake Slaughter, Brian Parker, Logan Jones, and then Jagger Burton. Now you move on to the 3-point bonuses here. Sam Heck out of Kansas State. He scored an 8+. It's worth mentioning too, Sam Heck got the All-Star bonus at the Senior Bowl, had a great Senior Bowl week. Let me back up. Jalen Farmer for Kentucky. He was not a center. He was a guard that we just talked about. He got the 5-point bonus during All-Star week as well. Keelan Rutledge out of Georgia Tech dominated the Senior Bowl. So those are 3 guys that really stood out in the Senior Bowl, according to Daniel Jeremiah and other people that we trust that were down there, boots on the ground, said those 3 linemen really stood out. Now back to the 8s. Again, Sam Hecht, who had the Senior Bowl bonus, he scored an 8+ RAS, 3-point bonus. Parker Brailsford out of Alabama, another center. He gets the 3-point bonus, scoring an 8+ RAS. DJ Campbell, guard out of Texas. You've got Fernando Carmona, guard out of Arkansas. Those are your 8-point bonus guys, okay? After that, you've got Armaj Reed Adams, guard out of Texas A&M with a 1-point bonus, meaning a 7+ RAS. Bo Stevens out of Iowa scored in the 7s, last I checked.
Yep.
Fabechi Noeu, maybe? Interior offensive lineman out of Oklahoma. He gets a 1-point bonus. Evan, I like to call him Beerstan, but it's Beernston, I think. Interior offensive line out of Northwestern.
Evan Daddy Sodaston. Let's go.
Exactly. Garrett DeJorio. It's not DiGiorno. It's not delivery. It's DeJorio. All right. Guard out of UCLA. He got the 5-point bonus at the East-West Shrine Bowl, so he stood out. Unfortunately, he scored a 0 points, which meant less than a 7 RAS, so he kind of hurt his stock, it seems, at the combine. So those are your interior offensive linemen, obviously with the centers that are projected to be centers lit up in the blue. Tim, Jake Slaughter, I think, he's been the guy we were on at center as a rookie. If I had to pick one out of the gate, he's been the guy since day one that we've been like, that's our dude. And boy, did he check the boxes at the combine, man. Yeah,
for sure. And like you said, A1 since day one, right? But we're not sleeping on Brian Parker the second, Logan Jones, even Sam Hecht. When you're talking about the center position, and then, the guys towards the bottom, even Bo Stevens, Emilio's mentioned that Iowa offensive line, Bo Stevens could, be a value pick as well, whether he's a guard or gets kicked to center or moves to the outside. You know how we play musical chairs during training camp, at least with a lot of the rookies. But I think there's a lot of sneaky value here on the interior of the O-line group this year.
I completely agree, man. And again, the reason that we like to tag these RASs, guys, Gute really likes guys that are 8+ RASs. Okay, I'm not saying he won't draft someone, obviously, that may be less than that. Like I'm going to go back to last year's board, and I want to double check, but I think Anthony Belton actually was. Yeah. So here's a perfect example. In the past, Gute has really liked those high RASs. Now, Matthew Golden did not have an RAS because he didn't have a complete profile, right? Savion Williams did not have a complete profile as well. So you assume they were 8+, right? I mean, they're great, great athletes, obviously. Anthony Belton, we drafted in the 2nd round, and we had his RAS tagged as a 7+, only a 1-point bonus. So there's something out of the realm of normality, I guess you could say. Now, here's the problem. That RAS was configured of him as a tackle. We played him at guard the majority of the time, right? So if you kick him into guard, I guarantee you that jumps into the 8s, right? So
I agree. I would love for us to just draft a tackle and put him at tackle, or draft a guard and put him at guard, or draft a center and let him play center. What a concept.
Absolutely. And then Barron Sorrell, one of our favorite prospects that we drafted last year, he actually had a 9+ RAS, right? We were in Lambeau Field in the bowl watching the draft live on the big screen when they drafted him. It was absolutely awesome. His RAS was a 5-point bonus, and Greg Cosell loved him. Now, another one, Colin Oliver, edge defender out of Oklahoma State. He was a 5+ or a 9+ 5-point RAS.
Hey, talk about a Green Bay Packer you're excited to watch in 2026, right? Colin Oliver.
Yeah. Now, here's a great example here, Tim. Nazir Stackhouse, right? Nas Stackhouse. He went undrafted. Okay. We did not draft him. Why did we not draft him? Seeing that he actually started early he played more snaps early than Warren Brinson did. Nas Stackhouse got 0 points on his RAS. Kind of like, think of Lee Hunter this year, right? Didn't measure out well, or didn't test well, I guess you could say, at the combine, right? Nas Stackhouse in the same boat. That's probably why he fell to undrafted, to be honest with you. Now, Warren Brinson, on the other hand, we took in the 6th round, I think, 5th or 6th. I think it was the 6th.
So. 6th round, yep.
Yeah. So he ended up getting a 5-point bonus. So he was a 9+ RAS late in the draft, right? And again, I think he played pretty well given his snaps and him being a late round pick. And then John Williams out of Cincinnati was a 7 as well. So just keep all that in mind. Just wanted to kind of glance back and give you guys an idea. Gute did take a 7+ RAS in the 2nd round last year, but that's if he is projected as a tackle, he being Anthony Belton. We played him. We've seen him more of a guard, I believe. And obviously his RAS would have jumped into the 8s, possibly the 9s if we looked at it. So let's see here. Solder says a 6'4 to 6'5 college offensive tackle with an 8+ RAS is the Packers' sweet spot. Absolutely. Completely agree with that, man. So now let's go down, Tim, and we'll go in rapid fire. Offensive tackles sorted by overall grade. If you kind of look at the offensive tackles now and see where they fall into line, I like to look at the grades that are somewhere under 52 or less to see, all right, who's the best case scenario we could potentially get at pick 52 if we do go offensive tackle. You got Caleb Tiernan with a 56.8, Maxie Hanachor with a 48.5, Jennings Dunker, who the Packers have already met with, which we said will probably play guard. He's got a 48.3 grade on our board. Blake Miller's another one that I've mock drafted a couple times, and I would love him if he fell in our lap. He obviously has a 34.6 grade. Getting a guy who's worthy of the 34th pick at 52, and he's got a 9+ RAS, that would be a great pick for the Packers. And then, of course, Caleb Lomu, I think, will be long gone out of Utah. He got a 5-point bonus, 9+ RAS, and he's got a grade of 31.8. So that's kind of the range you would look for there. And then interior offensive line sorted by overall grade. Let's do the same thing. Who would be in range for the Packers? Connor Liu with a 58.3. Obviously, you're not looking to draft him at pick 52 because it's going to most likely be considered a redshirt year or in the second half of the year when you get him available. Outside of that, Emmanuel Pregnon out of Oregon, he got the 5-point bonus, right? He's a 41.8 on our board. If he falls to 52, I doubt he will. There's a lot of buzz around him. He was the 2nd highest graded guard in terms of PFF grades last year. Tankathon had him at 36. Dane Brugler says 79, so he says he might be there. Tim, I would totally be okay with Emmanuel Pregnon if you were to have Pregnon drop to you at 52 and you get a guy with a 41.8 grade, obviously low number wins. You could plug and play him if you decide to move on from Aaron Banks. Now, you still got to focus on center. What if we do keep Elgton Jenkins on a discounted contract, right? You get a pay cut there. He still starts at center, and then you go and draft Emmanuel Pregnon to play left guard if you move on from our boy Aaron Banks. Goody's boy, not our boy. Let's just say that.
Yeah, for sure. You know, with Big E, though, at center, I mean, he looked good. We saw some photos of him doing his workouts.
Trimmed down big time,
Trimmed down. I mean, I'd be willing to roll the dice one more time and see how he looks, fully healthy at that spot in year number 2 going into the season as a center, maybe. But I still think Big E is best suited on this whole line at left guard, honestly. Yeah. I mean, that'd be a way to move on from Banks too, right? You just put Big E over at left guard, and then let's go get Jake Slaughter, or let's go grab a center.
It's a perfect
never know.
example.
We might get a guy in free agency if we want to drop that 20 milli plus per year and sign a OG at center. But it's tough to call it right now.
And what you're looking at there too, let's say you go that route. You move on from Aaron Banks, you get Elgton Jenkins back on a pay cut. he moves to left guard, and you draft center. When you pick at 52, you got to ask yourself, do you reach just a little bit for Jake Slaughter, who's got a 63.6 grade, or do you wait till 84 thinking that Brian Parker or Pat Coogan would be there, and that would make more sense at pick 84, as Brian Parker has a 77.4 grade and Pat Coogan has an 84.8. Now, Pat Coogan's RAS is incomplete. I guarantee you the Packers will have a full athletic profile of him, but that's kind of how that
Duke Blue Devils got the cheese emoji, so another reason to keep an eye on Parker.
Yeah, and hopefully we're going to be able to update the cheese emojis on the board. That means the Packers have shown interest by meeting with them at any stage here, whether it's East-West Shrine Bowl, Senior Bowl, Combine, what have you. And then, of course, we'll have the top 30 visits with the target emoji. So that's just a quick look at the interior offensive line. Let's see what Daniel Jeremiah thinks about these offensive line, okay? Spencer Fano, he's got it number 12. Magoa, he's got it 13. Caden Proctor out of Alabama, 28. Monroe Freeling, 24. He has Caleb Lomu at 29. Blake Miller at 23. And Max Ihanachor at 41. You'll notice he does not have Jennings Dunker in his top 50. So when you look at that, that's the latest board we had, right? Or the way this works with Daniel Jeremiah is the earliest that they are mentioned on his board, they're going to stay in that spot. We're not going to shift them around based off of anything else. So as soon as these guys appear on his board, that's the number that will stick on our board. So we're still waiting to see, where is Caleb Tiernan going to land? Where is Jennings Dunker going to land on his list there? Another one to look for too, Trey Zune, the third center out of Texas A&M. I've got him listed as a center and a tackle because I'm hearing multiple reports. If he's projecting as a center, his grade is a 127.2. That might be one to look for a little later in the draft. His RAS is currently incomplete as well. When you look at Daniel Jeremiah and how he ranks the interior offensive lineman on our board, there's only two in his top 50, and that's Lone A, offensive lineman out of Memphis at the number 11 spot, and then Chase Basantis at 49. I don't know if Chase Basantis will last that long. Dane Brugler's got him at 43. Daniel Jeremiah's got him at 49. The consensus big board had him at 65. The PFF big board had him at 91 originally. Where does the PFF big board have Chase Basantis right now, Tim? He's a guard out of Texas A&M. The last name is spelled Bisontis. Chase Basantis. Because we had him 91st when we took that information down for the PFF big board originally.
According to PFF right now, 58. Right.
So he's jumped.
Yep, he's jumped.
So that's much closer to Daniel Jeremiah's original 49 and Dane Brugler's 43. So maybe Chase Basantis could be the pick at 52, right? You can make a case there. So
could be.
Yeah, there you go, guys. There's a quick breakdown of the draft board in terms of offensive linemen. If you guys are watching this video back later, let us know in the comments, how do you feel about these rankings? Maybe give us your top three guys. Maybe you got one guy, hey, that's the dude I want at pick 52, or hey, that's the guy I want at pick 84. Let us know in the comments. Hit that like button for us. Hit subscribe. Click the bell icon for us as well.